Hello guys, we are back with our next lecture. In this lecture, let us go through the next type or next mode of data transfer. So in the last lecture, we discussed about programmed input output, right? And we also discussed the issue with respect to that. So basically in that, CPU is working like a slave, right? It is wasting its own cycles to check whether the flag bit is 1 or not. So that is the disadvantage with respect to the programmed input output. So that is the reason why we will use a interrupt initiated input output. Okay, so what is interrupt initiated input output, guys? So I think it will be easy if I explain you with the diagram and then we come to the theoretical part, guys. Okay, so this whole concept, so this is the diagram, guys, with respect to interrupt initiated output. Okay, so the main concept here is whenever a particular device wants to send or receive, like it wants to send input or it wants to print output, it will request or it will interrupt the CPU. Okay, so here the CPU is having one interrupt pin and interrupt acknowledgement pin, guys. So whenever someone wants to send something, they will pop up one. So basically, even device 1, device 2, device 3, if 3 of them want to send data, so 3 ones will come. At the end, only one interrupt will come. Hence, CPU doesn't know which device exactly wants to send the data. So that's one of the most important thing which you should remember. Okay, yes. So now CPU knows that it wants to send it. So someone wants to send data to the CPU. Okay, and remember one more thing. When will CPU stop and check this interrupt step, guys? So it will check once its current execution is done. So basically, CPU executes a statement by statement, right? Yes. So once the first statement is done, it will check whether the interrupt is 0 or 1. So if it is 0, it will continue to the next statement. So in this way, every statement by statement will come back. It will come and check, guys. Got it? Yes. Okay. So assume that this interrupt is 1. Okay, so at that time the CPU have noticed that the interrupt is 1. So at that time it will send the interrupt acknowledgement. So basically CPU will say that I am ready for interrupt. Whoever wants to send the data, please send it to me. So it will say in that way. Okay, yes. So now that particular data, so that particular information will be pushed on to the device 1. Okay, so here if you observe carefully, we don't know to which device is want to send the data, right? Yes. So assume in this way. So assume this device don't want to send the data. This device wants to send the data. This device wants to send the data. Okay. So at that time, this acknowledgement will come here. It will compare, it will check, it will come to device 1. So device 1 will understand, okay, someone has requested for interrupt, but I don't want to send anything because it don't want to send anything. So it will understand, okay, so I don't want to send anything. So let me pass this 1 bit forward. So it will pass that 1 bit forward and it will be received by device 2. So now device 2 will be saying, okay, luckily I got my chance. So let me send my data. So it will send the data in VAD2, guys. So VAD2. Okay, yes. So it will send in that particular lane. Okay, guys, you'll be understanding what exactly is that vectorized data or non-vector data and all those things. So don't worry. Okay, yes. So it will send the data in that path. Okay, yes. So once it sends the data, so will it allow the next device to send the data, guys? No, right? Because it used that particular one, it will not give any information to device 3. It will not say anything. It will not even inform that it will not even inform to device 3 that there was an interrupt and CPU has accepted one of us. So it will not even say that, okay? It will send the data and it will keep quiet. That's it. It will not send anything towards this, okay? Yes. So now CPU will understand, it will read it and will analyze it, okay? And now this bit will become 0, right? Yes. And but device 3's request has not been completed, so that will be 1 again. Okay, so at the next cycle, so basically assume this step is done. So now this step will be done, and again CPU will check. Okay, so still interrupt is 1. Okay, I think someone else wants to send the data. So again it will send the acknowledgement. So at this time it will pass till here. It will pass till here. This will also pass it 1 because it is 0. It will pass. So now this device will send the data. So in this way, this will work, guys. Got it? Yes. So at the end, this will become 0 and the interrupt will also become 0. Got it? Yes. If you observe carefully, here there is the concept of priority, right? So what is it, whichever device 1 is there, so if it wants to send the data continuously, it can overwhelm this device 2 and device 3. It will not allow device 2 and device 3 and it will send its own data again and again and again and again. So that is the thing here. Okay. Okay, so if you say that is a disadvantage, but it's okay, right? Yes. So we'll be understanding about this VAD1 and all those things while we are discussing the theory, guys, because I have wrote them clearly in my words. Okay. Yes. Okay, so in this method, so let us understand the theoretical part. In this method, IO device interrupt CPU when it is ready to transfer the data. So that's what we have seen there. CPU keep executing instructions. After executing one instruction and before starting another instruction, CPU wait and see if its interrupt is active or not. So if it is active, it will give a chance. If it is not active, it will not give any chance. Okay, so the one which we are discussing is called as a daisy chaining. Okay, yes, so the diagram which I drawn here, so the other name for this particular diagram is a daisy chaining method, guys. Okay, and it is based on priority. So indirectly P1 is having a highest priority, P2 that is nothing but device 1 is having highest priority, then device 2, then device 3. Got it? Yes. Okay, so if an input output device wants to communicate, it will raise an interrupt 011 with respect to 123. Okay, so once the CPU completes its current instruction, it will check and decide whether to continue or to work with input output. Okay, so even though the interrupt is 1, if CPU is working on some important topic, important thing, it will not stop for this interrupt. It will continue its process. Once that important work is done, then it will come back to interrupt, guys. That's also you should remember. Okay, yes. Okay, so it sends INT acknowledgement to D1. If D1 has a request, it will complete it. Else, it will move on to D2. So the priority is a device 1 greater than device 2 greater than device 3. Okay, so now you got an idea, right? Yes. Okay, yes. And even the interrupts will work in two different ways, guys. Okay, so the first way is a non-vectored interrupt and the second way is a vectored interrupt. Okay, guys, I'll be explaining you these two with some simple examples, guys. Okay, yes. So the first one is a non-vectored interrupt. So basically, whenever the thing which they are saying, this is a vectored address, guys. So vector address of device. Okay, so that's the full form, VAD. Okay, yes. So it is going to give two types of vectors. So there are non-vector interrupt and vector interrupt. Okay, so what exactly is a non-vector is okay. So assume that you want to go to your friend's house, guys. So assume that he's your best friend from when you are kid, like from your first class to your engineering completion of your engineering, is your friend. So at that time you will be knowing his address, right? His house address, mostly you will be knowing it, right? Yes. So those type of things are non-vectored address. So there is no need for you to ask your friend that what is your address, please send me the location. So those kind of requests are not required, right? So that is a non-vector, so no need of address. So here there is a mutual understanding between the CPU and the device that where this routine is stored in the memory, high priority device, well-known friend or best friend. So how these devices will work is, so I want to do something, right? So this device wants to do something. So that do something is nothing but a set of instructions, right? So those instructions, where they are stored somewhere in the memory. Okay, so if that address is priorly known to the CPU, so that is a nothing but a non-vectored address. Got it? Yes. Similarly, vectored address. So basically you got your new friend in engineering and that is the first time when you are going to his home. So at that time you will ask his home. So even you will be more confused, like you will ask his location, you will be asking his multiple things, right? House number, door number and all those things. Again, there will be some security. They will be asking you like who are you and all those things will be taking place, right? Yes. So this is a vectored interrupt. So you don't know exactly where his house is. So you will be asking him and he will inform you the address. So that is a vectored interrupt. So some interrupts may be vectorized, where the interrupted device will also tell the address where the routine is stored in the memory. So address should be informed by the device itself. Okay, so now you got an idea, right? So what is vectored and what is a non-vectored? Okay, yes. So now I think everyone is clear with this interrupt initiated, right? Yes. So now let us go through some advantages. So the advantage with this method is it is a very simple, right? So we are able to understand it in under 5 minutes, right? Yes. So it is very simple, easy to use, easy to understand and relatively fast. So even though it is fast also. The only disadvantage is here priority is fixed. Even in a case of requirement, we cannot change it. So if you observe carefully, so assume that there are two devices which are equally important for me. So at that time, how can I give first preference to both of them? Guys, it's not possible, right? So that is a small disadvantage here. Okay, yes. So now I hope everyone got a clear idea with respect to this interrupt initiated method, right? Yes. So in the next lecture, let us discuss about a direct memory access method that is popularly called as DMA. So let us meet in the next lecture and discuss about DMA, guys. till now whatever we have discussed about input output and all those things, there may not be any numerical questions. I'm talking with respect to numerical. There could be some theoretical questions, but there may not be mostly numerical questions. All the numerical questions from this input output will be coming from DMA only, guys, mostly. So that is the reason why I hope everyone will be attending the next lecture. So let us meet in the next lecture and discuss how this DMA will work, guys. So I think I'll be taking one example, okay? If not, I will be discussing anyway in the PYQP, so don't worry, okay? Yes. So I hope everyone got a clear idea with respect to the programmed input output and the programmed input output and the interrupt initiated input output. So in the next lecture, let us discuss the last type, that is a direct memory access. That is a DMA, okay? Yes. So let us meet in the next lecture. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more awesome videos like this. Thank you.